Hi, everyone. SUR Videos. I'm Peter Loshak. Mike Brenner is sitting next to me. We are continuing our next installment, our series of videos on seeding trends for the NCAA tournament. 13-4 is what we're going to cover today, Mike Brenner. And
March Madness, baby.
This is an interesting matchup. The 13-4 matchups, the dogs have tended to cover, but the favorites have tended to win and advance.
Well, now upsets become more common. As a whole, last few years, not so.
The past 2 years, the dogs have been 5-2-1 against the spread, but none of them won outright.
Yeah.
So you see a lot. Yeah, you see a lot of these. You see a lot of Valparaiso's and Harvards as an 8-point underdog and just missing. A lot of these games where it goes down to the wire, they cover relatively comfortably, but the favorite advances. And I feel, but then also, once in a while, you do see a favorite who's clearly undervalued is like a 13-point favorite and wins by 40.
Yeah,
and that's
exactly.
You have to always be on the lookout for that as well.
Yeah, it can be tricky.
This is a very tricky matchup here, a seeding matchup. This year, and we don't know exactly, of course, we're doing this on February 25th, so we don't know exactly who the seeds are going to be, but Iowa State, Utah, Maryland, Kentucky are all sort of shaping up to be 4 seeds.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, and Baylor, if Maryland or Baylor is a 4 seed, I could easily see them being like a 10-point favorite, advancing but not covering.
Exactly. And maybe even Maryland could be set up for, overlooking somebody and getting beat outright. We brought that up yesterday if they were seeded in number 3, but absolutely with a spread. And that's probably what that'll draw, about a 9 or 10-point spread. And I could see Baylor and them both not covering that. And Iowa State's one to throw in there also, along with Maryland and Baylor for that other stat you were talking about. I could see them also not covering a spread, 10-11 somewhere.
Exactly. Like having a big spread, not covering but advancing, having it go down to the wire. Now,
and again, that's most important to them, but most important to us is banking that buck. So it's having that feel for the next round.
And as far as teams that could get upset, could Baylor sneak into a 4 seed?
Well, they could.
A little bit tough.
They could.
Right.
I mean, they could, though. It's not out of the question. Yeah.
They're on the outside, and Utah's been playing well.
Yes.
If they, I could see them not covering, but are they going to get upset? I don't see them as.
No, I think if anything, and this is my feel for Utah is they're starting to pick up a little bit of steam. I think they're going to be more consistent going into the tournament. So I don't think they're going to be so upset-minded or upset-bound, to put it that way.
And what about Maryland? I think we're both down on Maryland.
Yeah.
But if they're up against a strong 13 seed, like some strong team from the OVC or something, could they get upset possibly?
Well, they could overlook them. I think Maryland's a team that could overlook, and they could. They could get upset. I mean, that is certainly not out of the question.
Now, in 2013, 2012, though, the favorites actually covered. They were 6-2 against the spread, and there were a bunch of favorites that covered by big margins, like Syracuse crushed Montana when Syracuse made a deep run.
And the books had a good feel on them back then. Literally, Syracuse in particular, the books had a good feel to that, the talent they had. So I think you'll see something like that. Maybe even if you get to a point with Iowa State maybe facing just a weaker number 13.
Right.
I don't know, though. It's hard to call.
All right, so I think we're in agreement here. We're generally going to be looking to bet on the dogs, but expect the favorites to advance. We're also going to be keeping our eye out for favorites, 1 or 2 favorites that might actually be a good bet, undervalued, like a 10-point favorite, and win by 20 or 25.
Absolutely, something like a Kentucky. I could see that happening all day long. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, 4-13 matchup, an interesting matchup, and stay tuned for our next one where we're going to cover the most notorious matchup of them all, the 12-5 matchups.
Don't miss it.